The leaders of San Diego's Democratic Party are beginning a meeting right now to talk about the sexual harassment scandal surrounding Mayor Bob Filner. Sources tell KPBS the committee will call on him to resign. They say the vote is, quote, a done deal. Now, if a vote does come during this newscast, we'll bring you the information as quickly as possible. Just last week, the committee split evenly on that same question. Since then, however, 7 women have come forward to say that Filner made unwanted sexual advances toward them, either during his time as mayor or when he was in Congress. 4 of them talked exclusively today with KPBS investigative reporter Amitha Sharma.
They represent a cross-section of San Diego women who hold powerful positions. One is a retired rear admiral in the Navy. Another is a successful entrepreneur. One is responsible for overseeing the interests of San Diego's port tenants. And another is a leader in local academia. But these 4 diverse career women are bound by a common thread. They all say they've been on the receiving end of unwanted advances and inappropriate comments from Mayor Bob Filner. Former San Diego Navy Mayor Ronnie Froman, businesswoman Patty Roscoe, San Diego Port Tenants Association President Sharon Burney Cloward, and San Diego State University Dean Joyce Gaddis are here to talk about the harassment allegations swirling around the mayor. Welcome to all of you. I want to start with each of you describing very briefly your alleged encounters with Bob Filner. Sharon, let's start with you.
Well, in 2005, Bob Filner asked me to meet him for lunch, and I didn't understand it was just a lunch at that time, and I did not accept his offer at that time. In 2010, I attended an event down in National City, and where he pulled me away from some people that I was talking to, and addressed me and asked me why did I not accept his invitation to lunch back in 2005. At that time, as I said, I didn't know it was a lunch event, a lunch gathering with Bob Filner. At that time, he said I was beautiful and that he wanted to date me. At this time, Bob Filner was going through his re-election process, so he made it clear that he would like to date me as soon as the re-election process was over. In 2012, I attended another event. At this time, Bob Filner was running for mayor, and this event was at the convention center, the Town and Country Convention Center. And he came up to me after the event was over. I was talking with friends, and he came up and gave me a hug, and then he touched me, actually groped me on my backside inappropriately. As soon as he came in, he left, and I was left there startled and fearful. In fact, I actually had someone walk me to my car that night. Just recently, I attended the Mexican trade. There was a chamber had a, I'm sorry, I am just nervous. In 2013, just a couple months ago, Mayor Filner attended a trade mission in Mexico City, of which I was there too, along with the chamber members. He actually, several women told me, and others, that he had touched them inappropriately or he had talked to them inappropriately. And so it seems to me that there's a theme here, and you'll hear from the rest of the women here, that he seems to go beyond what you should be going beyond as far as standards today.
Ronnie?
Well, a couple years ago, I was at Bob Filner's office, congressional office, and I was there for a meeting to talk about a veterans program. I was the only woman in the room. We had our meeting. I was there with 2 gentlemen, and Bob had a staffer in the office. As we were leaving the office, all the guys left, and I was the last one in the room. And Bob stepped between me and the doorway, and he stopped me, and he got very close to me. And he ran his finger up my cheek like this, and he whispered to me, "Do you have a man in your life?" I jumped back. I was very, very startled. And I said, "Yes, I have a man in my life." And he said, "Who?" And I said, "Lyndon Blue." He says, "Oh, you mean of the Blues Brothers?" He says, "Maybe we can all get together sometime and have lunch, and he can support me for mayor." I was really rattled. I went out in the car, got in with the 2 guys I was working with, and I told them never to leave me in a room alone with Bob Filner again.
Patty?
I've known Bob Filner for a long time, since he was in the city council, and on numerous occasions he's put me in what I guess now is the famous headlock, and I felt fearful, even as well as I knew him, because it was an invasion into my space, and he would come in and try and kiss me on the lips, and I'd have to squirm to get away. And just as recently as a few months ago, this happened, and I turned, and he just slobbered down my chin, and I was so violated, and I was so offended. And on other occasions, he's gotten close to me and put his hands in inappropriate places on my body. And it's just such a terrible invasion.
Joyce, what about you?
My experiences are somewhat like Patty's. It's a series of interactions with Bob where he's held me and held me too tight, a kiss on the cheek, which is inappropriate, hand on the knee that lasted too long. Moreover, I've been in the environments where he has made those sexual comments to others, and I've seen the interaction from others when they cringe when he's had those interactions as he's had with Patty. I've experienced his sexual innuendos with me at various events that, again, have left me in that strange feeling of this is inappropriate, this is unwanted, and this shouldn't be happening.
Sharon, when these alleged incidents occurred with you, did you report them to anyone? Did anyone see them?
There were witnesses at the 2012 event, the people that I was talking to. I did report it to my board members, looking for support from them at that time, but did I report it to anything beyond that? No, I did not.
Joyce, you helped develop sexual harassment policies at San Diego State University. Stories of sexual harassment have swirled around Bob Filner for several years. Excluding the women who came forward this week, why do you think women have been so reluctant to report their stories to authorities, to go public with them? Why do you think witnesses have been reluctant to do this?
You know, that's the irony in all of this. Yes, I was one of the women that established the sexual harassment policy at San Diego State. And just like any other policy, whether it's civil rights or women's rights or gay rights, somehow when we establish the policy, the laws, we think our job is done. And what happens is we don't keep vigilant, ever vigilant on making sure that we're implementing those laws and those policies. And what happens, we fall into this code of silence because there still is the fear of retribution and not even understanding the expansiveness of the law and how inclusive it is of a number of behaviors that constitute sexual harassment. So most people, most women and men will feel this really may not be sexual harassment, and if I come out, I'm going to be either embarrassed or I'm going to experience retribution. And so that code of silence just maintains itself. And so I wanted to be here today to say this is the time, if not now, when we've experienced these many years, and I look at women who are my peers. We all have our stories to tell of where we experienced sexual harassment. We didn't have a place to go. We never told our story, and yet we live with those stories for the rest of our lives. And I don't want women to be continuing to live with those experiences because they didn't feel like they had a place to go.
Ronnie, you're a retired Rear Admiral, a former Navy mayor. You've ascended in a field that's male-dominated. I think a lot of people will be shocked to hear that someone as powerful as you are was on the receiving end of this kind of treatment. How galled were you when this alleged incident occurred with Bob Filner?
I was so angry, and I felt violated. I just didn't expect anything like that to happen, and it made me very, very angry, and I felt violated. He got into my space.
And Patty, these sexual harassment allegations were first made public 2 weeks ago. Why come forward now?
Amita, I think enough is enough. I think that we have gotten to a point where we don't want to say, oh, that's just Bob. It's not good enough that's just Bob or Jack or Joe or Phil or anyone. Bob Filner is the leader of our city. He is in a position now where he can't be in a meeting with a female staffer. And there are young women working for him. There are young women who work in organizations that perhaps he has power over. And to think that my silence, our silence, is affecting those young women is devastating. And I think it's just time that we stood up and say, we cannot have this kind of an immoral man leading our city.
And Ronnie, you know, the mayor has come out and he has said there's a monster inside of him. He has said he needs help. He has said that he has disrespected and intimidated women. But he has also said that he doesn't believe the sexual harassment allegations and that once due process takes place, justice will prevail, in his words. What do you think of his response? What do you want to see happen?
I think that he's the leader of our city, and when you raise your right hand and you take that oath to support and defend the Constitution as a public servant, what you're saying is you're signing up to a higher level of standards in your life, and your personal life and your professional life all meld in together as a leader, and you're there for people to look up to and as a role model. He's not been a role model. He's not a leader for our country, for our community. And I think that it's time for us to call for his resignation. And today, what I want to say to all the women, we're here to support all the women that have come forward. And I want to say to all the women out there that we want you to rally, and our city deserves much, much better leadership than what we have in Bob Filner, and we want to call for his resignation. And we want all the women that are still out there, because there are many, many stories in this city. We want all those women to come forward.
And we're going to close it there. Ronnie, Sharon, Joyce, Patty, thank you so much for speaking to me today.
Thank you for listening to us.
Yes.
That was KPBS investigative reporter Amitha Sharma in an exclusive interview with former San Diego Navy Mayor Ronnie Froman, businesswoman Patty Roscoe, San Diego Port Tenants Association President Sharon Bernie Cloward, and San Diego State University Dean Joyce Gaddis, all of them stepping forward with allegations of unwanted sexual advances by Mayor Bob Filner. KPBS partner iNewsSource collaborated on that report. You heard one of the women say that she hopes other women come forward. The Sheriff's Department has set up a hotline to take reports. The number is there on your screen. KPBS has repeatedly asked the mayor's office to give an interview or any response to the sexual harassment allegations, but has received no response other than a prepared statement denying the accusations. At an event earlier today, Mayor Bob Filner did repeat his call for due process and told the city to take a deep breath. Mayor Filner also appeared at an event to mark the start of construction on the San Diego Trolley Blue Line. Reporters from local and national news stations swarmed him, shouting, "Are the sexual harassment allegations true? And will you resign?" He said only that there's a legal process by which all of this will be decided and that he would make no other statements. But he started his remarks about the trolley with a joke.
I see you found a wonderful way to attract media attention for our efforts on the trolley. Thank you.
After a photo opportunity with other transit leaders, Filner was again swarmed. He said nothing, but walked straight to his car and drove away.